Welcome to Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips, and we got to start the show right away by saluting a legend and friend of the show, Michigan State head coach Tom Izzo, for passing Bob Knight's Big Ten wins record.
And 2 weeks ago, we had Tom Izzo as our guest. He gave us everything, poured his heart and soul into the interview segment. But there was a lot going on there. After our segment, after our show, he won a game at Illinois to become the win leader in the Big Ten, surpassing Bob Knight. What he did the game prior was losing at home to Indiana with a lot of fanfare around there. They had a lot of guests and a lot of people that were ready to salute Tom Izzo. It was a 9 o'clock game. He went home, got very little sleep, and texted me at 5 a.m. that morning to confirm that he was coming on Make a Difference podcast because he said he had to fulfill his promise to join the Make a Difference podcast. Coaches linger on losses, and we get rid of wins sooner than maybe we should. That maybe is not mentally healthy, the way we get rid of wins and linger on losses. Players linger on wins more than coaches. So if you could imagine the mental challenge that went into Tom Izzo waking up at 5 a.m., sending that text, because I was ready to change the day. Jared and I had talked about changing the day. But if there's anybody out there that ever questions Tom Izzo, forget about it. He is the epitome of a friend, because a friend is there when you need them the most. And that's dramatic for our podcast, but he fulfilled a promise. We should all aspire to be as true a friend to just one person as Tom Izzo is to I. Or is it to me? I'm not sure, but we'll go with it.
It would be to me. Yeah,
me.
because we're not going to do an English lesson right now. But
so, Tom, thank you. Congratulations. And I'm sure you're going to set that record that no one will ever get close to it.
You know, he wouldn't even let the record, he wouldn't even let himself break the record before he already shouted out Matt Painter saying that he was going to break it.
Right.
And we're like, Coach, you're still coaching. You know, he's got to catch you still.
But then we have all these, we have all for about 10 or 11 days, and we're working through a really serious guest that has asked us to delay it a little bit later in the season. And one of the news and notes that we pick up, Fran Dunphy retired. I would be a smartass if I said again, but he's retiring again. But again, the same ilk. Fran Dunphy has done so much for so many, and it's away from the basketball court. So I'm not a cliche person, but better person than he is a coach, that's Fran Dunphy. If there's a Hall of Fame for people, Fran Dunphy is a first ballot Hall of Famer. So, Dunph, we've yet to have you on Make a Difference, but your day is coming. Because you're so verbose, we'll probably make it a double segment, because he just has so much. But congratulations. God bless. Love you, my man.
You're downplaying him as a coach, by the way. A terrific coach. That's
No,
Mr.
I'm
Big
not.
Five.
But I just think that people put like, well, he's a great coach. Well, yeah, but what kind of person is he? What kind of human being is he? That's far more important than who you are. Is far more important than what you do. Always remember that.
Preach. Amen. A terrific guy, terrific friend. loved getting to really cover and get to know Fran a little bit in my time at Temple. You've known him for at least a little bit longer than that, I think, right? A couple years more.
I coached against him when I was the coach at Bishop Kenrick High School in my first year, 1979. Fran Dunphy was the coach at Malvern Prep.
Wow. That's a
long
time ago.
That's a long, what is that, 45 years ago?
Oh boy.
Yes. I coached against him before Gino Oriemo was on my staff at Kenrick.
The roots run deep, man.
Yes, they do.
The roots run deep. Well, we have two, speaking of great people, maybe a couple and two more first ballot Hall of Famers, two incredible guests and champions, freshly crowned champions coming up on the show, but I would be remiss if we did not get into the Martelli Minute.
Sure. Brought to you by Status Solutions Network. Status Solutions Network is committed to making a difference by providing Alicia Law compliant safety technology to schools through a grant of use, ensuring that financial barriers never stand between students and proper safety. Each community has the power to create real change. Learn more at statussolutions.com, and we appreciate them being with us from day one. Martelli Minute. Oftentimes, a successful venture starts simply with you showing up. Can't move forward unless you're there. So all successful ventures start with you showing up and getting started. Second one, to admit you need help shows a strength of character, not a weakness. Anybody out there that can get it to a young person, get that one. Admit you need help is a strength, never a weakness. To increase your productivity, focus on your strengths. Oftentimes, Jarrett, we get into something and we're like, well, I don't know because you know what? I'm not really good at this or I'm not really good at that. Forget it. We all have strengths. Play to your strengths. Work on your weaknesses at another time. Increase your productivity. Focus on your strengths. And this is very apropos in terms of talking about a Tom Izzo and a Fran Dunphy and our guests who are coming up. Having a positive effect on others is the most powerful statement about who you are. So you want people to know who you are? Let them watch how you impact others. And that's certainly the case with Tom and Fran and our guests as they come up in this next segment.
That's it. The Martelli Minute, sponsored by Status Solutions.
We appreciate Status Solutions always.
Terrific as always. And without any further ado, do you want to introduce
our
guests coming up here?
This is terrific. Coaching in Philadelphia is an honor and a responsibility to represent all of the greats who have come before you. Focus often in this town, as that's on the 76ers coach, but on the college coaches, particularly the Big Five coaches. And at times, it overwhelms or has overwhelmed the brilliance of the depth of coaching in our region. Small college coaches like Hall of Famer Herb McGee. John Chaney started at Chaney University. Alan Rowe, my coach at Widener. High school coaches like Bill Fox, Joey Goldenberg, Speedy Morris, Dan Doherty. State championship coaches like Greg Downer, Carl Aragale. How about all the women's coaches? The high school women's coaches, the Division IIs, Division IIIs. And that's just the Philadelphia area. We didn't even pay the toll and go over into Jersey yet. Our two guests carry on that legacy. We are delighted to be joined by the Public League champion from Imotep Charter, Andre Noble, and the Catholic League champion from Father Judge, Chris Roantree. And I want to leave you with this about both of them. They give more than they take. And that is the greatest compliment I can pay anybody. Welcome to the show, fellas. Well, make a difference. Make a Difference is so excited to be welcoming the Catholic League championship coach from Father Judge High School, Chris Roantree. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So, Chris, it didn't start and end on a Sunday afternoon at the Plestra. Tell our followers, our viewers, take us how did you end up at Solly Avenue as the head coach?
Well, I was at Archbishop Wood for 9 years with John Moscow. I had a great relationship with him, for 9 years, won 2 titles there. Had a lot of connections. I coached with Team Final for a long time, almost 9 or 10 years with Team Final and Rob Brown. And, I had the opportunity when Judge made a decision to move on from the previous coach to sit down with the president and make sure it was the right situation that I could win in and be successful in. And, I'm an alumni of Judge. It was the only job that I would have ever left John's side for. And, after meeting with the president and, going through the interview process, I got the job, and, it's been a whirlwind the last 4 years. Being a head coach is a lot different than being an assistant, and but it's been a great ride so far. The support from the administration and the school and the alumni is second to none there, and it really gave us a chance to be successful and do what we did yesterday.
And how much of that alum comes out when you've taken over this program, and you're being modest because you're a really good player? How much of that comes out in your daily interaction with your team, with your fans, with your faculty, with your administration?
Yeah, I think, it's we talk about it all the time, and there's a thing to be a judge guy and what a judge guy is all about, and it's really giving back and being successful and giving back to others and things like that. And that there's a motto, be who you are and be that well, which is from St. Francis de Sales there. And, we live by that every day. We preach to our guys the connections that being a judge guy has, right? And there's a lot of guys that get jobs out in the real world because they know a judge guy, or a judge guy hires them because they are a judge guy. And that's really important. Our guys really got to see that this year. I think, even last year when we were down at the Plestra, there was a lot of blue down there last year. But Wednesday night and Sunday, sorry, I keep saying Monday, it felt like there was 75%, Father Judge fans down there. And, it was a really cool feeling when we got back to celebrate last night. The bar was packed, and it was just, it's a really surreal moment. But even when we traveled this year, we went all the way out to San Diego to play in Torrey Pines, which is a great tournament. And every game there was 2 or 3 or 4 random Judge alumni that would just show up at the game. And, would want to talk to our guys and see our guys. There was a guy that lived out there that, took all 40 people in our traveling party and had a barbecue at his house. And a pool party on our off day out there. So they got to see that and experience that. And I think they're really they feel it now of what that is, and the success of the basketball program, will help them later on in life, just being a judge guy and being a player at Father Judge.
That moment, Chris. So Sunday afternoon, you guys walk to the foul line, make crucial foul shots, last 30 seconds. Roman takes the ball the other way. The ball's in the air, and you are now the Catholic League champ. What's that feel like? What did it feel like?
It hasn't even set in yet. It's literally, you get so wrapped up in everything that goes on after the game, between, celebrating with your players, cutting the net down, doing interviews. You get back, and, your family's at the celebration and all the alumni, and I had to be at school at 8 a.m. this morning for a pep rally from blocks. So it just really hasn't set in yet. I think, I was saying earlier, I think tonight, after dinner, sitting down, rewatching the game, I think it'll really kind of set in and that feeling. But, it's just, I'm just proud of our guys. I think, our guys have worked so damn hard all year for the past 4 years, and we were an afterthought. Judge was an afterthought when I got there. We were, they were 2-14 or 2-13 in the league. And, the guys just grinded. They believed in it. We took a chance on Kavere Kennedy. Nobody really else wanted him. And here he is 4 years later, a Division I player. And he's going to walk out of here the greatest player ever to play at Judge, because he won a championship. Forget all his stats and everything he does, but winning matters. And you can't call yourself the greatest if you don't win. And he did that yesterday, and it's a great feeling for him and for all of our seniors and the rest of our guys.
You mentioned it a little bit earlier. I would like you to take this moment in time, brag about Judge. Not basketball. Brag about Judge, the school. The school. It has become a vibrant part of the community. Has been for a long time, but Judge is back. Could you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I think the administration there. Hats off to them. I think Brian King is really kind of forward thinking there. They've done a great job in some things in the school. And Father Campolone, who the former president, who's still around. I think he's president emeritus, but he does a lot of the fundraising for the school. But they during COVID, I tell this for everybody that comes up to see our school. During COVID, they transformed the library. Somebody donated $1.5 million to transfer the library to a learning commons, essentially, for students that need special assistance. They just built a beautiful trades facility because, look, everybody doesn't want to go to college anymore, right? So they have an opportunity now where they have automotive trades, they have welding trades. There's guys that graduated, the first 4-year guys, come out of high school making $65,000 plus on a welding program. That's fantastic. But, all of that, the alumni, I think, we talk about, again, giving back and Judge guys. There's certain guys that, if kids are struggling with tuition, they just randomly pay kids tuition at Christmas time as a gift. I think we were the only school for 5 straight years that didn't raise tuition because all the alumni funded all of the archdiocese and tuition increases. So it's things like that. It's just special to be a part of it. Down the shore, everybody has their reunions down the shore. I think the Judge reunion is the largest reunion every single year down the shore and things like that. So it's just it's a great thing in the community. They're investing in a lot of things up there. They just literally launched a capital campaign a year ago and have raised probably almost $20+ million to make capital improvements throughout the school. So it's vibrant. It's going to be around for a long time, and I think the really foresight of the school and the administration is second to none there.
Well stated. Chris, you've been in all aspects of the game in Philadelphia. You're part of this fabric. Talk about the state of the game in the Catholic League, specific to the Catholic League. Where is our game?
I mean, the PCL is one of the top 5 leagues in the country. You have WCAC, you have the open division out in California. After those two, I'll put, the PCL up against any league in the country. I think, we travel well whenever we go and play in places. Roman just went down to Miami and won the Orange Bowl, which is a great tournament. We went out to Torrey Pines and played well out there against a bunch of California, Texas teams, all of that. But our game, there's so much talent in our league. You look at a team that like Archbishop Carroll, who didn't make the playoffs, has 2 top 25 kids, top 50 kids in their program, and they struggled to make the playoffs. The depth and the talent in our league. But one thing that I say to everybody is the coaches in our league. They all want to win and be successful, and everybody's grinding. Everybody's well prepared every single game, and that's what makes our league a grind. Is the players and the coaches in the league make it really special. But the state of our league is, it's second to none. We're by far the best league in the state, and that's why the PCL, the championship in the PCL is so important. A lot of other leagues talk about state titles. I don't think you ever hear a coach in our league say, I want to win a state title. It's I want to win the PCL championship. And that's the most important championship in the state and the city. From there, I think, this Friday, it's going to be great, though, because it will be a true city championship game on Friday night over at LaSalle, with us and Imotep. So I think that'll be a special thing, too, on Friday night.
No question about it. I'm going to put you on a spot. A young man in your program who's made a difference. We're all about making a difference on this podcast. And who's that young man who has made a difference in the Father Judge program?
I gotta say Kavere Kennedy. He's our guy. He's, we ride or die with him. But again, he's a guy that he changed the culture of our program single-handedly as a freshman, which is really hard to do. But he's just a really tough dude. I told the story last night after the game. They asked how Kavere got the judge, and he said, I didn't have any other options. And coach took a chance on me. I remember it was probably one of my first 5 workouts, and I had to go to a meeting with our AD and other coaches, and all of a sudden I have somebody come in and say, you got to go back over to the gym. Kavere and one of our other players got into a fight, and he's just tough. Like, he doesn't take anything for granted, but it's that attitude. And as he progressed through it, it was all about winning for him. And to see him smile and be as happy as he was yesterday. But, all the guys in our program, but, I think he's our leader. And, he been there for 4 years since I've been there, and was my first guy. And I'm extremely happy for his success.
Chris, when you talk about a player like that, you mentioned just the talent level in the PCL, how it is so incredibly high in the depth. But when you're a program like Father Judge, you guys haven't really been at the mountaintop like this since you were the one raising the plaque back in 1998. You have to find that diamond in the rough, that player like that. How does that kind of set the tone for your program then moving forward, knowing that you can develop a guy that, hey, nobody wanted him? Well, he's a Catholic League MVP now.
I think you just said the key word, development, right? And that's like, anytime I'm talking to a parent or a player that's interested in our program, that's the one thing I point to. And I can point to Kavere. I can point to a guy like Ernest Shelton that came over from McDevitt, that was a JV player that figured it out his senior year and now is playing at Gannon, on a top 10 team in Division II, and started as a freshman, right? Like, we're going to develop you. We're going to hold you accountable. We're going to make you a young man, which is important. But we're going to develop you. Our guys, our coaches, they all love to be in the gym all the time, and that's the same thing. That's how we built Wood. You take a look at Wood, Colin Gillespie, right? Nobody thought that Colin Gillespie would be Colin Gillespie. I don't even know if Moscow thought he'd be Colin. I didn't think Colin Gillespie would be Colin Gillespie, right? But it's all about development, and we never really got the true superstar there. And that's the thing here too. I think, you look at other guys in our program. Kamal Yard, called me last week, and he said, the thing that sets you guys apart is you guys have developed your 6th, 7th, 8th guy, which nobody else in your league really has, because the talent is spread out. And you got a guy like Rocco Westfield that, again, nobody really thought, and he just got a Merrimack offer the other day. A kid like Max Mashinsky, who's, he's not on anybody's radar. That's probably going to be a Division I Patriot Ivy League type player. And then even Mir Rivera, right? Like, he's got the bloodlines and all of that, but he wasn't on team final. He got cut from team final in his 8th grade tryout, right? So he wasn't the superstar and developed, and he's developing. But the key is development. We want to develop guys. We want guys that want to come in the gym and work and develop. And I've lost guys because, hey, we want to come and play right away. And I refuse to promise playing time, because you got to earn it. And it's hurt us in a recruiting aspect, but I think it helps us, because when you get here, you're going to be taken care of, and you're going to develop.
So, Chris, we end all of these with one question. So we're going to move away and congratulate you again on being a champion as a player, and being a champion as a coach, and being a champion in the summer. who's made a difference in Chris Roantree's life?
There's so many people, my parents, my wife, all that. But since we're talking about coaching, I think, the one reason I got into coaching and I love it so much is Bill Fox is a mentor for me. And I had a great relationship with him, playing there, me and his son was in my wedding, he's the reason why you want to coach. And I think, it's about the relationships that you have with your players when you look back on it at the end of the day. And, to continue that relationship with him, throughout his life has been phenomenal and an impact on me. I still got Mr. Cook on my staff from that. And it was special yesterday to see Mrs. Fox down at the gym. And she gave me a hug afterward and said, Coach was with you tonight. And she had a medal on, but that's special for me.
Well, again, we hit these interviews out of the park. Chris, I know you're working on fumes. We really appreciate you taking the time, and good luck. Go win a state championship now.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Well, we're about to have a make a difference superstar make a difference for us. 5-time, 5 straight years public league champ from Imotep Charter, a great friend, Brother Andre Noble. Andre, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Coach.
Coach, appreciate it.
So here you are. You're on the top of the mountain. And people always, I happen to know, but people always just assume that you've always been a Philadelphian. Can you take us through your journey? What led you to Imotep?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. That's a good question. So I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, born and raised. So that's why all my sports teams are Boston sports teams. My friends get on me back here about that. I went to Lincoln University, which is about an hour outside of Philadelphia. So it always took me into Philadelphia. One of my elder cousins, Dr. Driggers, he kind of like guided me a lot, especially at that time in my life. And so he's lived in Philadelphia for longer than that. When I was going to college, he lived in Philadelphia. So I would come to Philadelphia a lot. And I remember going to a conference and I met the vice principal at Imotep at the time, Cosette Ferran. And she was like, yeah, you should come to our school. It's young. And I said, I came, I visited, I loved it. And I said, oh, maybe I'll do this for a year and then figure out what I want to do. That was 25 years ago.
Now, you've had a lot of these championship experiences, but I want to take you Sunday afternoon, LaSalle University in their arena. What was that moment? What was that championship feeling like for you?
Yeah, I feel, I told the folks yesterday, just so proud of this group. You feel differently about each group, right? Like you love and you're proud of them for different reasons. This group has gone through a lot of adversity. We lost one of our best players in the third game of our season, Zaire Muhammad Gray. And then we had another player leave over the Christmas break that was a starter. So we've had, two of the guys that started our first game of the season was out of our lineup by January 1st. And so our 3-man went from being our 3-man to our 5-man. And we've been playing that way the entire year. 2 freshmen in our group, in our rotation, a sophomore. So, we got some really young pieces in this group. But I was just so proud of them that they fought through adversity, never really doubted themselves, and then accomplished one of their goals of the season.
The state of the game in the public league. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, you know what? There are a few of our teams that are, doing well. Like I thought Mel did a great job yesterday. And I thought his kids played ultra hard. but our league, we've been the standard for men in our league, and some of it goes ups and downs and waves, and I think we're just this year was kind of like wasn't a great year for our league as a whole league on a basketball court, but we've had some teams like Mel has built Fells to what it is, engineering and science, which is usually one of our academic schools. They've become a pretty good team in our area, but it's just one of those ways where I feel like our teams are not as good as we normally are as a collective of teams.
Mm-hmm. Now, you don't win championships, and I'm not preaching to you, but you don't win championships. I'm talking to our followers, our viewers, or whatever. You don't win championships unless your entire school backs your administrators. Can you brag about Imotep so that we all get to know the idea, the atmosphere that leads to championships in that building?
Yeah, sure. I kind of love this place. Obviously, spent my whole professional career here. Our school is an African-centered STEM school. Our STEM program is unique in that it's focused on service. So our kids just went to Kenya in the fall. We had about 25 kids go to Kenya in the fall and do a water filtration project. Work with them on clean water supplies of the villages that we were working in. So whenever we go, like whether it's international travel or last school year, our students went to like the Gullah area in like in South Carolina. And did taught middle schoolers how to test their water and stuff like that. So we're engaged in things that we have this like STEM code of ethics that is the foundation of our program, and we kind of like if it's something that we feel can help someone else's community, those are the things that in STEM that we're interested in doing. So we're proud of like. We've kind of had to find ourselves as a STEM school. We've always been an African-centered school, but I feel like over the last like 5 to 7 years, we found our voice as a STEM school, which we're proud of the work we're doing.
And a beauty there, Jarrett, a beauty there is that some of the young people at Imotep are not coming from a lot at home, but because they're in this school with the faculty led by Brother Andre, they understand about make a difference. That's what we're all about on this podcast. How are each of us going to make a difference? You just described it perfectly. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to put you on a spot because you are a team coach, but who is the young man in your program who has made a difference? Maybe not just to this championship, but over a 4-year period or over a 9-month period. Who's made that difference in the Imotep championship program?
Yeah, that's a great question. Now, Coach, do you mean like as a basketball player, or do you mean in the community?
Who's made that difference, Andre?
Okay, so just to answer it generally, I am. We have a lot of cool stories on this team, Coach. Like so. One kid that I'm just like just really proud, like Carnell Henderson, who came to our school as a sophomore, was I'm laughing because a little whiny as a sophomore. But you know what? In this day and age where we see kids like when they don't get what they want immediately, just like moving all over the place. As a sophomore, he played JV and just was a good teammate on this on our varsity team. Didn't quit, didn't leave, just works his tail off. Last year he really helped our team. He was our 6th man and played probably like 20 minutes a game. And this year it's been like a different where he's our team captain now and has like really come into his own as a leader. So just to see his maturity and his development over this time. And I talked to some of our younger players because now he's got like schools that are interested in him. And I tell our younger guys, like, everyone wants to play as a freshman. God knows you had to deal with that. Everyone wants to. I tell them like it's okay to be Carnell Henderson. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with taking steps. We live in a microwave society that no one wants to take steps. Everyone wants to skip the steps and just get to the top, and it doesn't work that way. Like, so just to see him fight through adversity and become a better young man for it. That's the person I'd identify.
And just speaking because of the human being that you are, that trip and that description means as much to you as cutting down nets.
Oh man, those are the, I checked some of our guys yesterday that had like super unique stories, or Kev Benson, who works out before school every morning, and then he post practice every morning. I'm post practice every day. He made some big plays. I think he had like 12 points yesterday, and didn't see himself as, he thought he was like, well, maybe I can make the rotation this year. He started most of the season and has been clutch for us. But just like, I told him, I was like, wow, I'm so proud of you. Just the work you've put in, the work you've put in to get where you want to go. You've earned this moment, and to appreciate it and enjoy it.
There we go.
Coach, when you talk about putting that work in, I'm still thinking about what you mentioned. I mean, you have a group of your students go to Kenya and just see a community unlike theirs that is just needing a lot, right? And when they have the ability to kind of lend a hand and help another community like that, how much can that strengthen their own community, strengthen your community, and teach these guys, man, I didn't feel like getting up early and doing this workout or lifting today. How much do they just turn around and say, nah, I got to go to work, because you could just see how good you truly have it at the end of the day.
So on that trip, he didn't go this fall because they went to Kenya in the fall. But a kid that comes to mind as just what you're describing is Jabri Wallace-Coleman. Jabri Wallace-Coleman is a senior here, a Penn State commit. He's gonna go play football at Penn State. He's a best running back in the state this year. So last year when he went on a similar trip to Ghana, he was like, after seeing the water that they had been working on to filtrate the water, he just started crying. And he said, like, just a kid that, had 40, 50 Division I scholarships, his name's in the headlines. And he was just like, this is the most important thing I've ever done in my life. Being able to, especially someone like that, right, who gets a bunch of attention, who, has a bunch of things positive going on, for him to be able to see that, no, what you did today for someone else it is bigger than, the media likes, your social media content, like that, stuff like that is like, as an educator, those are the things that make you really happy to see young people make those connections about life.
There's going to be 100,000 people cheering his name when he scores a touchdown in Beaver Stadium. But that doesn't mean anything compared to what he did for people in Ghana. And that's truly incredible.
Yeah.
So, Andre, we like to end these, and you will go up there on that Mount Rushmore, as I knew you would. But who's made a difference in Andre Noble's life?
Oh, wow. So I thought of him yesterday. A lot of people have. So first, just in case she heard this, I have to say my mother, because if she heard this and I didn't, there would be a problem in the Noble household. But no, my mom raised 2 boys on her own, and as a single mom. And I remember being in my dorm room as a junior, and unfortunately, it did take this long. And the neighborhood that I came from, there was about maybe like 20, 25 of us. And as far as I know, I was the only college graduate at the time, on the way to graduating at the time. And a lot of just challenges that are in the community that I grew up in. And I was just like, well, why did this work for me? And I was like thinking, like, we're both from the same, all of me and those guys are all from the same neighborhood. Like, and I remember like the structure that my mom provided. And I was just like, you had that little lady like on your back a little differently. Like, and I called her that night and I said, just thank you. like I said, that was tough. Like you had a tough thing that you accomplished, and so I always appreciate, that my mom, that she, raised two knucklehead young men, and hopefully, all my accomplishments, I always try to share them with her.
There you go.
Perfect.
Often comes back to the moms, Andre.
It almost
always does. And again, thank you. The theme of this is to make a difference. And you, my friend, are making a difference. You're making a difference in Imotep. You're making a difference in your community. You're making a difference in Philadelphia. You're making a difference in basketball. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your friendship.
Hey, I appreciate it, Coach. Thanks for having me. Good luck, guys.
Well, our thanks again to the Public and Catholic League champion coaches for joining us, both with terrific insight. And I loved getting the chance to kind of learn a little bit more about their programs, not just from what you see on the court, but what you see off the court is just tremendous, what they're doing for the Philadelphia communities. And that is, at the end of the day, what it's all about. But they are champions. They're champions who are making a difference.
No question. Delighted that they were able to join us and to also give us a little bit of background about all that's going on at Father Judge and Imhotep. That was important.
Of course.
They are, both of those schools, we should be proud of all that they're accomplishing, not just on the basketball court.
With that being said, we got to figure out where Phil's been.
Yeah, we've been off for a little while, but as you can imagine, it's been a little bit happening. So I started at Mike Sealski's book launch in Wayne. Mike has written a book, Miracle in the Air. Miracle in the Air. And it talks about the dunk as how it has impacted not just the game, but the societal implications. And I was able to go there and listen to him read a chapter, take some Q&A, the Delightful Opportunity. The NIT committee calls have amped up. Then I got to see a game at your alma mater, Florida Atlantic at Temple. Florida Atlantic has quite a collection of talent. And if in a couple of weeks someone was to say the American champion in their postseason conference tournament was Florida Atlantic, I would not surprise me. High scoring game, back and forth. Florida Atlantic put a spurt on at the end to edge Temple. Temple's first home loss this year. Then I started to prep for this 48 hours. Providence at Georgetown. Georgetown without Thomas Sorber, brilliant freshman from Philadelphia, Archbishop Ryan in Philadelphia, who last year played in the Catholic League championship game, was there. Ed Cooley's Georgetown team put it on Providence early and often. And when the game ended, I got in my car and I drove home because I had an unbelievable opportunity to speak 3 times at Unionville High School to their basketball teams, and they included their middle school teams, which I really appreciated, to their student leaders, and then to a group of 40 to 50 teachers and bus drivers who are almost a leadership council throughout the district. Wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and I thank them and want them to know if they need me, I'm here. And then I got in my car and drove back to the University of Maryland. So I started at Georgetown, downtown D.C., drove home, drove to Unionville, drove back to Maryland for an 8:30 tip, walked in the building at 7. Maryland versus USC. Maryland, one of 4 schools in this country where all 5 starters average double figures. And they may lead the whole country in scoring from their 5 starters. A brilliant freshman, Derek Queen, who is almost indescribable in what he can do at his size with his footwork and his soft hands. Julian Reese, who's the elder statesman. They play together as a tandem in the front court. The three perimeter shooters are all close to 40% from three. And Maryland can score the ball, and then they play that unusual matchup. Is it a matchup man-to-man to zone? Is it zone to man-to-man? I can't figure that out. That's for somebody else to figure that out. But just a little tidbit. We're not there yet. But when you get your bracket, if you choose to get involved in any of that activity, look at their matchups. They may be in position to go a long way. And that was the Thursday night game, drove home, and then regrouped on Friday because I had a busy Saturday. I was delighted to be invited to Aaron Bracey's launch, Soaring with the Hawks, the book of the 03-04 team. He did a book launch. I was able to be there and to get a copy and to share a copy with you, and then to set up to have Aaron Bracey with us next week. What a read. I have only been able to get through 3 chapters because I wanted to go back and read again because there were things that I had no idea and kind of how he built it up. Well written. And it's not about pre-ordering it now. It's about how many have you purchased and whom will you share it with. I left there to go to Drexel Charleston. Chris Mack coached against him when he was at Xavier. He's coaching Charleston. Drexel winning wire to wire against the team ahead of them in the standings. But I had to leave there. Game ended, and I sprinted out to Lansdowne to the Father Lambert tournament. And we're going to put this out there to everybody out there. The Father Lambert tournament is a 7th and 8th grade tournament for boys and girls CYO teams. They have been operating for 57 years. 1 year they didn't, COVID. 57 years. It's their belief that it's the longest running CYO tournament in the Philadelphia area and maybe in a wider radius. So we need somebody out there to do some research on that one. And then I woke up Sunday morning with all of the intentions of going to the Catholic League. And I started to Catholic League Championship. And I made one call, and I made a second call, and I made a third call. I couldn't get a ticket. Now, that was Sunday. Monday morning, I'm telling everybody out there, I made a 90-second phone call and got 3 tickets to the Final Four. I could get tickets to the Final Four. I couldn't get a ticket to the Palestra. So what did I do? I sent my nephew. So now I'm turning this around and tell us that experience at the Catholic League Championship.
I'm cracking up. First off, I love when you just get rolling with where you've been, because number one, you do more things than anybody I know, let alone a 70-year-old man. That, you know, I don't know how you have the motor for it. So much hoops, and I mean, that Maryland USC game, a great game. All this, and the one thing that you had to miss out on was, I think, the greatest thing of all, which was another terrific Catholic League Championship. 2 wonderful games, great atmosphere, great energy. I think they sold tickets out by Thursday. I don't think there was a ticket available after.
Well, there
Thursday.
Wasn't for me.
Yeah. And I will say, I think if you would have walked up to the door, I think they would have let you in. But you know,
do that.
I
don't do that.
You're a man of honor. You know, if you don't want any special treatment, which I respect. But I'm pretty sure that if they saw Phil Martelli walk up to the doors of the Palestra at 2:00, I think they would have said, "Let him in." So, but anyway, I digress. I was there, an awesome opportunity to partner with Blocks and create some content for the day.
Thank you to Blocks again. Thank you.
A terrific partner, the presenting sponsor of the PCL Championships. They were awesome. I got a chance to speak with Rob Delaney and just how they're furthering their mission and how special it is for them to continue to represent Catholic schools in the greater Philadelphia region. I mean, they talk about They have Blocks kids on the court playing in the stands, cheering their teammates on, and they have Blocks families just throughout the arena, just getting to see, you know, all that hard work and these opportunities granted to people that need them to really further their education, which is obviously terrific. But getting into the games, I mean, they were awesome. I'll say Rob himself was so pumped. He's a New McGrady grad, so to see the girls take the title down for the first time since 2015.
Yeah, we want to shout them out.
Was terrific.
New McGrady versus Carroll for the girls championship,
and they were awesome. And some social videos on our accounts right now with the girls game and the boys game. Got a couple more things coming down the pipe as well. Some awesome stuff that definitely worth checking out. But just a great energy, a great environment. I mean, there's really nothing like that. I've seen state championship basketball games. I've seen big rivalry games at that level. There's nothing like that. That gym is filled to the brim for the Catholic League Championship, and it's difficult at this moment, unfortunately, to say that for much else when it comes to the Palestra. You can't get a ticket into that. Phil Martelli can't get a ticket to the Catholic League Championship. That is how special it is in that gym, in that building. It just you get chills as it just the roar of that crowd, and you can tell. And I'll say, you can tell those kids are playing their absolute hearts out to the point where I'm nervous for them, and you can see the nerves a little bit. I mean, I'll put it bluntly for you. It was 18-17 at halftime between Judge and Roman. That tells you exactly where these kids were at with being like, this is the biggest game of my life right now, because, those nerves get piling in and you're working your tail off for every bucket. And it's like, I can imagine that's just like, that's such a tough environment for all of them to play in. And for the ones that can gut that out, find those tough buckets and make something happen. I mean, Coach talked about Kaveri Kennedy, just an unbelievable player that really controlled that game at both ends. That is what it takes, special players like that who will be remembered for a long time for what they're able to accomplish in that setting, because it is as high pressure as it gets. It was awesome. I mean, the crowd,
great,
the energy, everything unbelievable. It's as special as everyone tells you it is. If you haven't been, and I don't think much of our audience at this point probably has not been to a Catholic League Championship. I can imagine who's listening to this show, and I imagine they've been. But if you have not, it's a bucket list item for any hoops fan, no doubt about it.
Well, I appreciate you representing Make a Difference, and I appreciate you taking the time to coordinate with Blocks, because, again, it's special what Blocks is doing, special what you did, and Philadelphia Catholic League basketball has a very special place in my heart. So thank you for what you've done. But now, where am I going?
Yeah, where are you headed?
Well, tomorrow, no, I shouldn't say it that way, but this week, I have an opportunity to do Villanova at Seton Hall. An interesting match because it will be in New Jersey. It'll be in Newark. Seton Hall is down and out. But yet that crowd will be energized because there's a certain Villanova presence in the Newark area in North Jersey. And Seton Hall is they're a lot like Rocky. Knocked down, not knocked out. And they'll get up and battle that. And then I'm back. And if I was to show you the calendar for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's blank. But you know what I'm going to be doing? What's coming? March Madness. So I'm just going to be getting fired up for March, because the March calendar doesn't look as blank, but the end of this week is. But I'm looking forward to it. And I'll be doing prep. Even though I lived this story, I'll be doing prep for next week's podcast with the renowned author, Aaron Bracey.
I was going to say, I'm glad that the rest of your week is pretty open, because I have a book to read in the next week, because our next guest, Aaron Bracey, the author of A Soaring Season. And that's funny to me, like, to hear you start to read it and be like, I actually don't remember that. I mean, you were front and center I would say you might be the main character of that book. And you know, you're not going to say that, but
No, I'm not.
but you're a main character of that book for sure.
I'm one of the characters, and I should actually give a shout out to when I arrived at the book launch, the young man sitting at the table, who will go nameless, except it is Aaron Bracey's son, Gabe. He looked at me and said, "Who are you?" And I thought, I like this guy. I really like this guy. You know what I mean? Because this was about the players who were in that room, Andrew Kofer and Tyrone Barley and Rob Hartshorn and Dave Mallon and Pat Carroll, and Claire Ariano was there, and Claire coached that team as much as I did. So it was delighted to see her. Marie Wozniak presented us to the world. She allowed us to be ourselves and be presented. So for young Gabe, I did tell Aaron that he had some parenting to do because he had just written a book about this team. But always remember this. The team, the individual teams are identified by the seniors on your team. So your Shanahan team, you were the senior, that was your team. It's the coach's program. It's the players' season. So appreciate it. And we were going to have Gabe on here eventually. Maybe we'll get him on next week with his father.
Well, we'll see. I mean, if he writes a book, you know, even half as good as his soaring season, then he's definitely welcome on. That's for sure. But really excited about that next week. Aaron Bracey going to be an absolute treat. I can't wait to talk more about that terrific book and obviously that terrific season. But that about wraps us up here for Make a Difference. If you want to get in touch with Phil, go ahead and head to pnjmakeadifference.com. That's where you can tell Phil your story and explain to him how he can maybe help make a difference either in the classroom, in the workplace, on the court, off the court, wherever that may be. Now, if you like what you are hearing from us, we would really appreciate a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. We are at Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe. We would really, really appreciate that. We are at Make a Diff Pod on X, and Make a Difference with Phil Martelli is our Facebook page. And if you are looking for the Martelli Minute, I know you get a dose of it here, but it's there every day for you on Phil Martelli's Instagram. That is Phil_Martelli, at Phil_Martelli on Instagram. And while you're on Instagram, why don't you go ahead and check out some of the content we put out for the PCL this past weekend. It was some terrific stuff. A lot of fun getting the chance to cover that. And just a special moment for this city every year to see people come together and celebrate hoops, because that is what it is all about.
Let's hope everybody gets out to a state playoff game. Support your local teams. They're playing meaningful games, because at this point in the season, you win or you collect uniforms. That's a big deal to young people.
Well,
let's support them.
Two teams that won't be collecting uniforms just yet, Father Judge and Imotep on Friday. That should be a doozy.
Should be.